Games independent stage?
Yeah, so The Guild is my web series. It's about online gamers, and the genesis of it was a horrible World of Warcraft addiction. So for 2 years, I was a hardcore raider. I mean, all my life I've been an online gamer, but that was kind of the sort of one that got a little out of hand. And I decided to quit and write something, because I was an actor and I was supporting myself solely on acting, so I had a really good career. But I had a lot of downtime and I wasn't really feeling fulfilled. So I decided to write something, and they always say, write what you know. And I definitely know online games. And the internet, I had a Prodigy account. I would IM with my friends. It was like in the old days. Anyhow. So I wrote the script as a half-hour pilot. And I showed it to some people in Hollywood, and they thought, oh, this is interesting, but I don't understand it at all. You should just write a spec script. And I didn't want to, because I really thought that it was good. I really have faith in what I had written, and I felt like it showed, just because they didn't understand what online gaming was, even at the time. It was 2007 or 2006, so it was like so early. It wasn't really mainstream to be an online gamer. And I showed it to my producer, Kim Evie, who had some viral YouTube hits. And again, this was really early. It wasn't really, video wasn't being consumed the way it is now at all. And she said, well, we should make this for the web, because the people who would enjoy this are on the web. And we just decided to make it. Never having any filmmaking experience, never having marketed anything or done really anything except just be an internet user. And we started breaking down the script and made 2 episodes out of our own pocket.
And what's really interesting about the launch, of the original launch of The Guild, is that, I think there's kind of an expectation that web series are released on a weekly basis, or that's kind of considered a standard. But you guys went with a monthly release.
Yeah, we went with a monthly release because we couldn't afford to do one. We paid for 2 episodes. We literally shot on cost only. So we had a camera we borrowed from one of the actors. We shot in our bedrooms. We borrowed food. I mean, I would go to a friend's house or a party, and I would just stick craft service in my own purse for my own shoot, and we got that off the ground, and we couldn't do more. So we released once a month because that was the pace. We all had regular, full-time things we were doing otherwise. But we really wanted to make more, and we were in a meeting one time, and somebody suggested, hey, why don't you just ask people to donate? And I was like, well, nobody does that. But it kind of, it was a kernel in the back of my head. So I did a WordPress install. I learned PHP very badly. I asked a friend of my brother to design some characters for the show to maybe make it look more colorful, because I felt like the desaturation of YouTube videos was kind of the reason why people weren't maybe excited about watching content on there as much, scripted content. And I put it all together myself, and I put a PayPal button up. And after 2 weeks, we had enough to shoot another episode. And we released another episode every month because people kept donating, and they kept donating, and they kept donating. And by the 10th episode, the end of the first season, I had to take it down because I felt like it was being dishonest, because we'd already paid for it, and I couldn't fit more people in the credits without it going on too long.
And
I know, I should have taken more money.
And how many people, do you have an exact number of how many people donated for the first season?
It was over 500 cumulatively, and the cool thing was that it was international. I mean, some people would, I think our biggest donor was like $400 or something, and I actually emailed him. I was like, are you sure? Did you misplace your decimal point? Because most of them were $5 and $10. But they were from gamers who just found the show and decided, hey, I want to be a part of this. And that will always be the legacy that I'm most proud of, because we crowdsourced something. And the fact that we could only release once a month, I think, made us create a fan base that was so organic and dedicated and invested in the show that it's kept us going for now 5 seasons.
Because of that scarcity?
The scarcity and the fact that, yeah, it was an event. When we released an episode, it was something that people hadn't just seen last week, so they would post a blog entry on it or post it on their forums again. It felt like new material, a new event, and they wanted to share it. So it's kind of counterintuitive because people are always like, well, you got to release something every day. But I don't think that that's the case with everything. It certainly was our advantage to release it once a month for 10 months.
Definitely. And let's talk about, like, I mean, and you already mentioned that this show was a show for gamers. And I think that's been kind of one of the Guild's most successful qualities, is that it really aimed to target a specific like subculture and build from there. And I wondered, I mean, for you, was there any strategy to that, or was it just you wanted to make a show about gamers?
I mean, no, I mean, I'd love to say that it was all social media strategy and marketing wizardry. I mean, I don't really have a business degree, but I did grow up on the internet. Like I said, I had a Prodigy account. I was on CompuServe. I had like a $500 bill one time. My mom just like wanted to kill me. I'm organic internet user, and I moved around so much. That was what I did to be able to communicate with my friends. So I sat down after we finished it, and I said, I think this is really funny, and I think my brother thinks it's funny, and I'm pretty sure other people will think it's funny. I just have to figure out how to get these people to watch it. So I just thought like a gamer, and I did have the advantage of having an amazing fan base, the Joss Whedon fan base behind me. But at the same time, I had the gamer following. I didn't have a following at the time, but I did have a person that I knew would be interested in that single subject, and I just figured, well, where were these people? Where are they hanging out? What are they doing? And I just literally, personally, just emailed every single one of them, every single blogger, every single forum I would post on, and I just, because I was really, really convinced that they would love it if they found it. And I mean, I think that, that really paid off, that kind of personalization.
And with World of Warcraft, I mean, do you feel like you would have had the same success with the Guild if the Guild had been about like 6 people in a coffee shop?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I think that's a principle that I definitely feel like is necessary. If you're going to make web content or any content on the internet, you have to be able to have a niche. It's almost like aiming with if you're playing a first-person shooter, you aim with a sniper rifle versus a shotgun. Because in order to really find the people who would be interested, like the subculture of that, on the internet, it will grow outward versus trying to please everybody. It's never going to work. And the interesting thing is that it's the reversal of what you would find in a network situation. TV and movies generally have to aim to everyone. They have to be able to please everyone because of the model that they've grown up on. And the internet, I think, is the opposite. You're dealing with 2 million channels. Every single website is like a channel. So how do you find the people who want to watch your show? And by really catering and giving a voice to people who may not have millions and millions of people, it's going to grow outward with word of mouth. And it's having a million publicists for you and for your product. So that's what I think web series really, you should hammer down if you're going to think about doing a web series. Like, who am I talking to? And is it specific enough so that I know where they're going to be so that I can talk to them directly?
I mean, I think that applies to like any technology you're trying to launch or anything you're trying to get people to connect with.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to know yourself and you have to know your audience. And you have to think like your audience, and you have to think, I don't want to force this person to do something. How can I get them to do it of their own volition and be involved in a way that's personal?
Now, the primary way you've connected with people, I feel comfortable saying, is probably Twitter. And I wanted to talk about that, the way in which you've used both, your personal account and also alternate accounts to like really spread the message about specifically the Guild, but just in general.
Yeah, I mean, social media is the word that everybody uses now. I mean, I don't know, in 2007, I don't think it was really a term that, people used it, but it wasn't a catchphrase like transmedia. It makes you want to, a little bit of that. Me and Kim did everything on our own. I mean, I can't exaggerate that. We didn't have money, and when we decided we needed a website, that was me learning, like, WordPress is free. I can install it, I think, and I break it. Oh, it's almost fixed now. And Photoshop, and Excel, and PowerPoint, and Final Cut, and down the line, every single tool that we had to use to get the word out for the show, we had to learn to do ourselves because we did not have the economics to pay anybody. I mean, the whole first season, we just were, shooting on costs. We only covered our costs. So it was definitely a situation where we looked at the web and things that were emerging, and especially emerging technology, that would be able to reach more than one person at a time. and thinking, this is a way that will make it easier for me to tell people about an episode. So I will create this thing. And I remember getting on Twitter thinking, well, this is weird. What is that? Why am I limited? I don't know what to text because there are all these buttons. You have to do 1, 2, 3. It was like old school. I mean, so it was so exciting to find these tools through the more tech savvy angle. And I just love early adopting. I love getting my name, Felicia, just on that new social network site. So it was basically just thinking, hey, how can I get this out quicker to more people? And it was absolutely integral to us growing an audience. And the fact that I had my personal, which tended to take off a little bit more than the guild Twitter and Facebook, just because I guess the personality really does drive a lot on the internet.
I mean, and yeah, talk about that, because I feel like people connect with you personally. They know they know you like cupcakes. They know you're working hard on stuff.
Do you like cupcakes?
And I mean, how does that go into building a brand for your show?
I think it's really interesting. I don't know if I donate a lot to animal charities, and it was interesting. The other day, I got a little letter from them that said, "Hi, my name is Snowball." It had a picture of this white cat. It was kind of mangy looking. I was like, "My name is Snowball. I was abandoned on the side of a road." And this whole little story about Snowball, how he lost a paw, and I was like almost crying. And of course, I wrote a big check out. In a way, if they had just said, "Hey, you haven't donated to Best Friends in a while," I probably would have donated, but maybe not as much. And I was thinking, that's a really interesting analogy for the internet. I mean, I think that kind of explains a lot about the YouTube phenomenon, which you could say, some of the artists on there, the vloggers, the sketch artists, the personalities, they get 9 million hits on one video. And I mean, there are more than networks on TV. And I think it's the fact that, just like my show, it's hung on personality, and people can identify with that, and you get emotionally involved versus in just a third-person product. So it's always weird when I'm tweeted at by a company versus a person's face.
Right.
And I think that's it's really interesting. And I think just the internet is more psychological than I think people would give it credit. I think it's all numbers and letters and all this anonymity. But there is a psychological dynamic that goes on. I think it's interesting. And if I wanted to get a grade for something in the future, I would analyze it. But it is certainly personality based, and I'm just very blessed that people tend to like what I do.